Hello, this is your local Hinata. I know it's an embarrassing name, but it's the one me and my sister came up with, so I'll guess I use it for now. And I want to create this YouTube channel just to talk about anime and animation. The first movie I'm showing off is a double DVD for The Prince of Egypt and Joseph, King of Dreams. In a weird time where DreamWorks made religious movies before the release of everyone's favorite Green Ogre, The Prince of Egypt is an unexpected masterpiece that came around the time of the beginning of 3D animation and the end of 2D animated films. It is hard to describe how amazingly well done it is, from its story to musicality and themes. It's just an all-around stunning film that, although animated, is not necessarily catering to the kid audience. Then we have Joseph, King of Dreams, which is not at all in the level of The Prince of Egypt, but it does do its job in retelling its biblical story into easily digestible parts, and having watched it as a younger kid, I have a little bit of a weak spot for this movie. Then we have Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, my first and only Edgar Wright movie I have seen so far, and I loved it. I initially watched it to see the anime series in Netflix, but after seeing both, I prefer the original movie. For 2010, this movie had stellar effects that integrated the theme of video games, going from level to level to defeat Ramona's 7 evil Lexes. In addition to that, the editing style is very choppy, so the transitions from scene to scene is quick, making it naturally funny and overall creating this quirky style to the movie I haven't seen done before. Surprisingly, this film originally kind of flopped in the box office, but over time, I have seen this movie becoming a cult classic in recent years. My favorite line from this movie is Scott saying to Ramona, "When I'm around you, I kind of feel like I'm on drugs." Not that I do drugs, unless you do drugs, in which case I do all of them, all the time. Your Name. This movie is the first anime movie on this list. Just for context, the case looks a little bit weird because I took off the paper cover and put it as a poster in my bedroom. This movie took me by surprise when I first watched it, being so complex in its story but still feeling like a refreshing summer love story. In addition to that, it was my first Makoto Shinkai film, and man, does this guy know how to make amazing cinematic background shots in his movies. Lupin the Third, The Castle of Cagliostro. I think that's how you pronounce it. The case of this movie is in Spanish because I got this DVD when I was in Colombia. So this movie is interesting because I first watched it with my sister and we really enjoyed it a lot, but on my second viewing, it got a little bit boring to me. Still one important film for Hayao Miyazaki, which later we see more of with some Ghibli movies I have. My Neighbor Totoro. This was my first Ghibli film I bought on DVD. I think I bought it because I heard it was good from the famous Spanish YouTuber El Rubius. My opinion is that it's a very well done film that is simple in its story and very slow paced. I have watched it a few times and I can see why people may not enjoy it as much because of the main characters being little girls always shouting and of course the slow pace. However, if you can get past that, it has a unique childlike essence that makes it really special to me. Fun fact, this movie came out as a double feature with one of the darkest and most heartbreaking Ghibli films called Grave of the Fireflies in 1998. So yeah, I cannot imagine the reaction of the audience. The Grand Budapest Hotel. This movie was my official introduction to the acclaimed director Wes Anderson. It's a very beloved movie from the reviews I have seen, and I'm afraid I cannot add that much substantial thoughts to the discussion, but basically I think it is very funny and it displays perfectly well Wes Anderson's famous style and aesthetic. which have very symmetrical shots and also a very unique color palette. Frozen. Now comes the Disney and Pixar movies. Well, I think everybody knows Frozen. I have it because the movie came out when I was like 7, so I was obsessed like every little girl in that era, so I got the DVD. This is one of my oldest DVDs I have in my collection. I really like the 3D animation on this one. Sometimes when these movies age, you can see the gap of technological advancement in animation, especially 3D animated ones, but this one holds up really well. From the environments, clothing, and hair, you can really see how far along Disney developed since their first 3D animated movies, like Chicken Little. Inside Out, one of my family's favorite movies. It's really hard for my dad to like an animated movie, but he really took a liking to this one, which is a very hard bar to cross. I think it's also my favorite Pixar film from the masterful director Pete Docter, who you may know for his other movies like Monsters Inc. and Up. This movie really is an emotional roller coaster. I even get a little teary-eyed in the beginning just seeing Riley being born and how your emotions develop with you and they get more complex as life goes on. It's a beautiful representation that I think will touch the hearts of the people that watch it. Over the Garden Wall, a original miniseries that I'm truly surprised came out on a televised network mainly targeting kids and teens. It was part of an initiative Cartoon Network used to have called the Shorts Development Program, where Patrick McHale first created the pilot called Tomb of the Unknown, which is also included in the DVD alongside the 10 episodes. I really love how it has a lot of symbolism and little details that you start to notice the more times you watch it. It's a perfect watch for a spooky autumn afternoon. The Great Mouse Detective, a kind of obscure Disney film, I would say. I don't think many people know about this. That came out during the dark era of Disney, which was between 1970s through the 1980s. This film is kind of a Sherlock Holmes parody in a mouse society, and I think the best aspect of this film is the witty banter between the protagonist and antagonist. The villain here is a menace. Rocketman, my favorite biopic I have seen so far. An amazing story about a man dealing with the struggles of addiction that comes from an internalized self-hatred and finds ways to deal with it, healing his inner child in the process. After this, I was blasting all of Elton John's songs. Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, a nostalgic movie for me. Honestly, just bought it to see if I still liked it as a young adult because I remember enjoying it as a young child, but my memories were very fuzzy about the plot. I may be biased, but this felt really comforting, and the story was entertaining, and I honestly was surprised that the visual effects held up since this movie was released in 2005. The Iron Giant. This movie I watched for the first time I think last year. It was very hyped up for me, being an animated movie created by the famous Brad Bird, the director behind The Incredibles and Ratatouille. And yes, it was very good. The main question of this movie was pitched upon was if a gun had a soul and it didn't want to be a gun. That theme alone, with the setting of 1950s America, makes it really distinctive movie for me, other than other animated movies I have seen. Also, the 2 animation on this looks gorgeous. Kiki's Delivery Service. It's hard to put into words your favorite film, which Kiki's Delivery Service is for me. I think it just came at the right time and talked directly to me. This film is a family film, but I think it speaks to a lot of young adults who are moving out and learning to live by themselves. It also speaks to people who are suffering from burnout. In the bonus features of this movie, you can see the theatrical trailers, and I absolutely love how in the promotional material you can hear Kiki's letter to her parents, saying, "Dear mother and father, how are you doing? There are still times when I feel sad, but I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of this video. I appreciate so much your support. This is the first time I'm doing something like this, so please let me know what other videos you would like to see. And if you want a part 2 with my Blu-ray collection, have a wonderful day.